This
Mhm. Okay. All right. So I'm just letting some more people in. All right. So I hope everyone's staying warm this evening. And it's so cold. Well, how about for y'all? Is it cold for y'all too? I see one person. Christy. Christy, is it cold for you?
It's freezing.
Hmm. Oh dear. Yeah, it's echoing. Don't worry. So I'm going to take over here, guys. This has happened once before. I'm not sure what caused it that time or this time. So the first thing is this is a little different for a Facebook Live. They're short. So we're kind of all used to Dr. Pam's marathon on Saturday evenings. And I've filled in for her before with that. So this is not long like that. For the Facebook Live, it's just like 45 minutes to an hour. So we usually move pretty quickly. So I'm going to be moving pretty quickly. So we can like help you get a lot of material covered. Okay. Sorry, I have to keep letting people in. Okay. So I'm going to share with y'all the agenda for today. Um, I started coaching, I think about last August. I passed the CPCE and the NCE in July, back to back. Let me let someone else in. And so since coaching in about August, I have just noticed some patterns that are easily mixed up with students I've been working with. And so I was like, I think this would be super helpful. And I go over this with my students that I coach, these common patterns that people, I'm seeing them get easily mixed up. And then just before I get started, these are discount codes. I'm going to shamelessly advertise us right here. So I'm going to put this in the chat. I'll do it at the end, right? At the end, I'll put this in the chat. But these are just discount codes where if you buy like 4 sessions with a coach, and including me, then you get a $15 discount, 12 sessions. And then, of course, this is like for the boot camp. Dr. Pam generally does the boot camps. I think she always, as far as I know, she has always done the boot camp. So you get like a $20 discount here. That's all that's talking about. And I'll drop this entire PowerPoint in the chat, by the way, at the end before I close out. Like even when y'all, if y'all have already left, like I'm going to put it in at the end. Okay. So today's goal. I'm just going to go through like some patterns I've seen with passers. I've seen a lot of students now have helped pass, and what I'm noticing is certain patterns, and in myself and them as well. And then something else, prepare like you're going to perform. I'll explain what that means in just a second. And then, like I said, I'm going to go to easily mixed up words and topics. So out of the students I've seen pass, and almost all of my students have passed thus far because they've been following what Dr. Pam says, and I passed because I followed what Dr. Pam said. This is because of her methodology. But we all basically have been listening to Dr. Pam like 24/7 when we're not working. Obviously, we all have to work and have families, but when we're not doing that, we're all listening to Dr. Pam. Like I was even listening to Dr. Pam in the shower. I still think it's funny. When we were like working out, exercising, we have on Dr. Then another thing I've noticed is people who pass, they just really go to Dr. Pam's Saturday evening group sessions. So what happens is if you're in an individual coaching session, you get Saturday evening groups for free. It's just a complimentary gift. And I've noticed people who really go to those, they take advantage of that. They tend to pass better as well, and they're really engaged. You know how you can kind of go, but you're like zoned out. No, like they're really engaged. Um, they also study Dr. Pam's 3 suggested hours a day, and those are separate, right? Once you reach about an hour and a half, the brain is just at maximum capacity. You're like, no, nothing more can go in. And then Dr. Pam has a book out, and I've been noticing that's really helped people pass a lot. Her book, and then her questions on Brainscape. So if you don't know about her book or Brainscape, if you have an individual coach, just ask them about it. Or if you don't have an individual coach, you can just always email the Dr. Pam 2020 email, and they'll help you find out how to get those 2 resources. And then if they are doing individual coaching, I've noticed they come to their sessions like really prepared. They've been studying, they have good questions, like they're ready to go. When they connect with the coach, like they have good questions and they've been studying. And then ultimately, you want to be able to teach it and explain it to others. I have really noticed this over and over now that the people who can pass almost always are the people who can explain it or teach it to other people. Okay. I know. Is there something about being able to verbalize it to other people? And well, I think there's more people trying to come in. Let me see here. Let me let them in. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I admit all. Okay. So yeah, so ultimately you want to be able to get where you can verbalize it to other people. So if you have a study group or even just one other person, I've noticed this really helps if you have somebody you can torture in your family, just someone you can explain it to verbally. And then they work the questions Dr. Pam's way every single time. I cannot emphasize this enough. Every single student now that I've seen pass that I've helped coach, which has been the vast majority, that is the main thing. They all tell me after they've passed, when I talk with them after they've passed, and they're like, Sarah, that was the main thing that helped me, other than having really prepared, was when I got in there, I did all 200 questions the exact same way, like Dr. Penn said. And what it just does several things. It helps you, it helps ground you when that anxiety starts trying to kick in. It helps to keep you from making silly mistakes, because I tend to do that because I start going too fast. And I've seen this happen a lot now. Just people tend to go too fast. They'll think they know it really well. And so they end up making just really silly mistakes. And when they see a word or concept studying, I'm on the last one right here. When you don't know it, just pause. I know it's very annoying when you're trying to study and you're like in a hurry, but just pause and look it up. Every time you get to a word or a concept that you do not know, pause and look it up. Okay, so those are some common patterns I've seen in the students passing or the people passing. Now, what I meant by prepare, like you're going to perform, is my tabs are all, sorry, let me fix my tabs here. So once they've done everything I just mentioned really consistently, right? They've been doing it consistently. They've been going to group, they've been studying, they've been doing this 3 hours a day. Once they're getting closer to the actual exam, they take a timed practice exam, at least one mock exam. Sometimes they do more than one. And that's because the way we prepare, that's the way we're going to perform on performance day. So they take it, they don't have anyone in the room with them, they time it. They don't have any music on, like exactly however that exam is going to be for you. That's how you want to do your practice exam, because it reminds me of going to run a marathon. If you've never run a marathon and you just kind of pitter patter around the house and then you show up to do a marathon, well, we're just not used to doing a marathon. And this test reminds me of that. If you are only used to doing questions like 5 questions at the time or 8 questions at the time, and doing Dr. Pam's process for just 2 or 3 questions at the time, and then you show up on test day and you have 200 questions for several hours, we're just not used to having to be that focused for that many hours doing her process over and over and over. So this is for sure, I've noticed. Another trait in people who are passing the CPCE and the NCE. All right, so then moving on to the first topic of today. This is more people coming in. All right, let me let them in. Okay. Um, so these are some of the most common mix-ups I see helping several students now. And the first one, it sounds really easy, but I see it happen a lot. And that is they'll be reading questions, practice questions with me, or like practice exams, and they will see unconscious. And as soon as they see the word unconscious, they think it's Freud, and they just go ahead and go with like a Freudian answer and then move on. But there was another word in front of the unconscious, and it was the word collective. If you see the word unconscious, my first small tip here is slow down and make sure the word collective is not in front of it, right? So if it's unconscious only, yes, you need to think about this in a Freudian way. But if the word collective is in front of it, it's actually young, right? And then I learn really well with cartoons, so maybe I'm in regression to use a defense mechanism joke, right? So with Freud, right, that's just the unconscious mind. That's all that stuff we push down, we put into the outer darkness here. A lot of times it's childhood experiences versus young. See that word collective? It's like a whole group of people. See down here in the cartoon, all these little bodies out here. Collective is just a whole group of people, right? It's our shared um, is our shared experiences across cultures. We'll have like certain myths or symbols or archetypes that we all seem to know across all cultures, all religions, all ethnicities. It's really interesting, actually. So that's the first one I see happen a lot. Another one I see happen a lot, going back up to this one, is people will see object constancy or they'll see object permanence and they'll flip flop them. And normally I'll see them go with object permanence and they'll totally forget about object constancy. And I think it's easy to happen when you're in a hurry or you're like under stress or anxiety's kicking in. So just slow down and make sure, like, is it object permanence? And the way I remember it is permanence starts with a P and Piaget starts with a P. So object permanence belongs with Piaget and object constancy belongs with Margaret Mailer. And yes, you do need to know Margaret Mailer. It might can feel a little random, but it is not. I've worked definitely Margaret Mailer can be on the exam. So object permanence, right, with Piaget is just that the baby in the sensory motor stage realizes that what is out of sight is still there. Before they develop that, right, out of sight is out of mind for the baby. But this is what allows them to start playing like peekaboo, right, and or they'll look for their bottle or the toy under the blanket because then they realize, like, even though I can't see it, it is still there. And this starts developing around 8 months. All right. No, the the comparison here, the difference here is with object constancy with Margaret Mailer, right? And oh my goodness, I don't actually have this in the slide. I probably should add this in. The other thing I see confused with Margaret Mailer, and I mean a lot of the time, is attachment from Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. So object constancy is not the same as attachments, and they sound really similar. I do get it. Sometimes they can sound similar, but they are not the same. So just like delete that this has anything to do with attachment style. This is something that sounds similar, but it's completely different. Object constancy is knowing my caregiver has my back. So even when we're separated, I know my caregiver, they've got my back. Even when my caregiver is like irritated with me, right? Maybe my caregiver says no, and I don't mean angry or abusive, but I just mean, like, right, mom says no to me. I still know she's got my back. That's all the object constancy means. Now, another way I've seen it come through now in several practice questions is it can sound a little odd. Okay, it can be like the emotional image of the caregiver remains stable. I have it right here to the side in this slide. The emotional image of the caregiver remains stable. So that, if you hear something worded like that, that's object constancy. And then another way I've heard it worded that was a little different is like right here, even when they're absent or irritating, I know my caregiver has my back. So that can look a few different ways. Okay. So then I'm going to go back up to our slide here. All right, another one I see mixed up a lot is going to a different part of the exam, right? We've been kind of more in like the human growth and development domain. But in the careers section, what I see confused a lot is Super's self-concept versus Bandura's self-efficacy. And I get it, right? They both start with self-concept, and self-efficacy, but they are not at all the same. Plus, they're both in careers, which I think helps lead to the confusion. But here on this slide, um, right, self-efficacy, I just always think of that little kid story with the little train. That I don't know. Does anyone remember this? Maybe. Oh, right. Wait. It's okay. I remember now. It was reverberating. It was that y'all were echoing, so no worries. But there is this little kid story about the little train who believed they could. And I just love that story. And that is self-efficacy. I think I can. I think I can. Over and over, the little train would say this to itself. Versus self-concept. That's who I am, right? I view myself as I'm an artistic person, right? You actually, you know what this reminds me of? It's kind of like, people's profiles and social media and stuff, and they'll have like, I'm a mom of three who loves to drink water and like runs to, I don't know, right? They have like this whole thing of who they are. That's our self-concept. Self-esteem, that does not go in that section necessarily. I don't see it show up that much, but I have seen it get confused a lot when I'm helping students with this. Uh, letting someone in. And just in case you do see it somewhere on the exam, self-esteem is neither self-efficacy, which is I think I can, nor is it self-concept, which is this is who I am, but self-esteem is how valuable I am. Like how much value do I give myself? This is how valuable I think I am. All right. So the last one on this slide that I see confused quite often is the correlation coefficient versus the reliability coefficient. Okay, so this is now over in assessments. So let me go here. Okay, so when you have a reliability coefficient, this is just, remember, reliability is just consistency. You know, are my results consistent? It reminds me of cooking. I love cooking. So reliability just reminds me of going to cook like my favorite chocolate recipe and I get really good results, right? And so I'm like, wow, these were great results. So I try it again in a few weeks, still great results. And I try it again in like a few months, still great results. That's reliability. It's consistent results. But when you see reliability coefficient on the exam, they're normally looking for a number, like there's a cutoff score of 0.70. Okay, all that means, like, do not overthink it. Even though there's like a number here, all that means is if I have an assessment, right? Because we're doing assessments like all the time with clients. If I have an assessment and that assessment score, reliability coefficient, is below 0.7, it's no good. Like it's considered this is not reliable enough. That's all it means, right? See, reliability. Like if it's below a 0.70, it's not reliable enough for me to use this assessment. If the assessment is at least 0.7, then it's considered reliable enough to use. Obviously, as it keeps climbing towards the 1, right, to the 0.8 and the 0.9 and the 0.95, like it's getting more and more and more reliable. Now, the way I remember this, and I've been trying to help students remember it, is if you think back to school, or at least for a lot of my classes I had, the cutoff score to at least pass the class was a 70%, right? At least I don't know if that resonates with any of you, but that was true for a lot of my classes, right? I at least had to have a 70% to pass the class. And so that's how I think of it. I'm like, oh, this is like having to have a 70% to pass my classes. So that's the cutoff score here. Now, one thing get confused with, that's where I'm going next. And I know why, because they both have the word coefficient in them, is the correlation coefficient, right? So we have the reliability coefficient, what I just talked about, and now I'm transitioning to the other coefficient, the correlation coefficient. The correlation coefficient just has to do with relationship, right? Like relation is literally in the word correlation. So correlation coefficient. And all this is looking at is two different things, okay? It's looking at two different things. First, where it's looking, oh, let me let someone in. It's looking at if there is a relationship here. So I'm gonna deal with that one first. So if the number they give you on the exam is a 0, 0 means zero relationship, zero, no relationship, right? We have a 0 relationship with each other. As I get closer to +1, our relationship is getting stronger and stronger. Sometimes I think of this like a relationship with my significant other, right? If we have a 0, we have 0 relationship going on here. As we get closer and closer, if we put it on a number scale, which that's kind of funny, right? We put it on a number scale. As we get closer and closer to a 1, a +1, we're having a stronger and stronger relationship. And guess what? The same is true going to the -1. And I think that's one of the things that can really confuse people sometimes is they hear -1 and they think, oh, this is going lower, right? Because we're used to thinking that way in math, like, oh, this is a lower number. This does not mean that in this case. This still is the strongest relationship possible. And I'm going to explain in a minute why there's the +1 and the -1. So the first thing I'm just going to reiterate through that is whether it's a 0, a +1, or a -1, that just tells us how strong of a relationship is there between two things. Okay. Versus if it's a positive or a negative, those the positive and negative here just mean which direction are the two things going in. So I'm going to give examples because that sounds kind of like a bunch of gobbledygook. Okay, so let's say the day I go to take my NCE exam, I wear gold socks with sparkles. Well, they might really cheer me up, right? Maybe I love gold with sparkles, who knows? But is there any relationship, right? We're looking for relationship. Is there any relationship between those gold socks with sparkles I wear and the grade I make on the NCE? Most likely no. That's a zero, right? Probably no correlation at all. Now, the more I go to Dr. Pam's groups on Saturday evening, and the more I listen to her videos or other coaches' videos, or the more I do those 3 separate hours every day, right? Consistently, I'm studying and I'm doing brainscape questions, and then I do my practice exam. Here, all this, like here, it's like building, building, building. I'm going up, up, up. Think of it like one finger going up. Most likely, hear the relationship. Most likely, my NCE score is going to go up, 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 like they're going up, up, up together, right? Yes. Okay. On the other hand, with the negative one, the more I start hanging out and partying and I just go to the beach all the time, I never study, right? That's going up, up, up. Most likely, my score is going to go down, down, down. In fact, I may not even pass, right? It's going to start going down. Here, they're going in different directions. So that's all that the positive and negative mean. I'm sorry, what? Did someone have a question? Okay. Sorry, I thought I heard someone asking a question. Okay. So, all right, let me let someone in. All right, I'm going to go through that one more time because I had a student this week and I know they were really struggling with this. And so I'm going to just do a recap one more time and then move on. So when you see the -1, the 0, and the +1, all that the 0 means is no relationship at all. As you move to the +1 or the -1, either direction, the stronger the relationship is getting. And then the positive and the negative, that's just the direction of the relationship. If it's a positive, they're both moving up together or they're both going down together. But both things you're trying to find the relationship with, they're going to be going in the same directions. Okay. The negative, remember, negative or positive is just about direction. The negative means one is going up and one is going down. Okay. So I know like there's that echoing issue going on again. So if that thus far is making sense, can some people maybe put some thumbs up likes in the chat or somewhere and let me know, is that thus far kind of making some sense? Thank you. Thank you, Carly. Okay, good. Let me know if I need to pause or go back through anything before I keep going. The next thing I've noticed confused a lot, and there's just no reason, I promise, there is no reason to be confused by this. I'm going to skip down for a second. Also in assessments is the type 1, type 2. Okay. And this one's easy to get confused, especially like I said, if you're under pressure or you're feeling anxious. In fact, what I did when I went in to take my exam, I actually wrote this down on the little dry erase pad they gave me. I wrote this down because I knew I tend to get this confused when I'm under pressure or nervous. So the type 1, of course, or the alpha error is when you get a false positive. If I can just remember the false positive and the false negative, usually from there I can get it right. So type 1, the alpha error, that's the false positive. And I'm going to break this down some more in a second. That's when you reject the null hypothesis. So the null is just not. It's null. It's not. It's no. Like I remember all those, they all start with the N. It's null. It's not. It's no. So you rejected the null hypothesis when you shouldn't have. Right? So the null hypothesis just says no. Sometimes I use bad grammar on purpose because it kind of helps me remember it. It's like, no, it not work. No, not work. That's your null not work hypothesis. The type 2 or the false negative is the opposite. You've actually kept the null hypothesis when you shouldn't have. So now you have a false negative. Now, one of the best ways I think to remember this, believe it or not, is actually write it down several times and memorize it. I just literally memorized it. And as soon as I got in that exam center, as soon as they sat me down, like this is one of the things I wrote down right here. So I wouldn't have to think about it when I got under stress on the exam. But making it more easily understood right now, I've seen it easier for people a few different ways. For some people, it helps them if they use this fire alarm analogy. that does not help me. I don't know what's wrong with me, but this one does not help me. I've seen this one help other people right here. The type 1 error, remember you have the false positive. So, you have this elderly gentleman here, and the doctor's telling him, congrats, you're pregnant. Well, this is obviously a false positive, right? So that would be this one right here, the type 1 false positive. So if reject is saying, hey, no, you're not pregnant, right? When you shouldn't have, like, you have a false positive. Then the next picture is the false negative, right? You have this lady here clearly expectant, and the doctor's saying, oh, you're not pregnant. So this would definitely be the type 2 right here, right? You have retained the null hypothesis, saying, no, you're not pregnant when you shouldn't have. I've seen those help people a lot, those two. And then where is it at? Let's see. I've seen also like Peter and the Wolf. I don't know if you've ever seen this one, but Peter, there's a story of Peter and the Wolf, and Peter, kept coming to the villagers and he would say, wolf, wolf, and there was no wolf right here. And so that was a false positive, right? He kept saying there was a wolf when actually there was no wolf at all. But he did this so many times that the villagers grew to not believe him at all. So then finally, when there was a wolf, they didn't believe him. Like there really was a wolf. And that's a false negative. He said there's a wolf, and they're like, no, you can't fool us this time. And that was a false negative because this time there actually was a wolf. So there are lots of ways to think about this one. But like I said, I just would definitely memorize it, have it ready to write it down, so that when you get under that pressure on the exam, you can't get them confused. Okay. Mm-hmm. Something else, moving on here, guys, and assessments as well. I see confused all the time. And this one makes me sad for everybody because there's no reason to be confused by these. Is the types of reliability and the types of validity. Now, what I've noticed is a lot of people actually are doing really good about knowing what reliability means. They really do seem to understand reliability means consistency. They've got that good. They've really got that one. That's good. And then they've got that validity means accuracy. And one of the ways I remember that is the second letter in validity is an A. And I just think to myself, that A stands for accuracy. That's one of the ways I remember that one. But then where I think the confusion is coming in is then you have to know the types of reliability and the types of validity for the exam, right? You can't just know consistency and validity. There are different types. And I think that's where some of the confusion is coming in for people. So with reliability, the way I remembered it for the exam, it makes me laugh because it really makes no sense in some ways. But it made sense to me. So I just stick with it now. So I remember it by like C eye to eye. And there's only one E, so it's not really spelled correctly, but I just said it like C eye to eye. And it stands for stability, equivalent, and then internal consistency. But I remembered it by doing the internal consistency twice. And I'll show you why in just a jiffy while I did it that way. And that's what helped me finally remember this. So I started also with the easiest. To me, this is the easiest at the top. So stability is really easy. It literally just means you have the same test, you take it twice. Sometimes in the questions, I quite frequently see it as a test retest, right? But sometimes it can be called stability. But you just have the same test and you're going to administer this test to the same group of people, same test, same group of people with a short time in between, right? Usually about 2 weeks, but it's supposed to be about 2 weeks. But just a heads up, I have seen that change sometimes in some of the questions. So that's interesting. The next one is equivalent forms. So you have different but similar tests, different versions. And the way I remember that one is this is literally what we're doing with the NCE and the CPCE, if you're here for that one as well, right? So we had like this one exam, right? We had the NCE, but we have different versions of that same exam. That is what this is right here. Equivalent forms. And it can also be called alternate or parallel. It's so annoying when they have all these different words for the same thing, right? But yeah, it can be called equivalent, or it can be called alternate, or it can be called parallel. So lots of different names for the same thing. But yeah, so remember, stability is just test, retest, same test. You're going to give it 2 times, same test, same group of people, usually with about 2 weeks in between. Then you have the equivalent form, right? Or the alternate, or the parallel. It's just like the NCE. Like same test, different versions. The last one, I saved the hardest for last, the eye to eye. This is the one with all the wild names. So the big picture here, okay, is internal consistency. Do you hear? It's internal. It's like your internal organs inside your body. You're gonna like go inside the body, okay, and see are things consistent in there. That's all internal consistency is. You're going inside the test and you're gonna see, do these items hang out together? Like how well are they measuring the same thing when we go inside that test? Now, what is going on here, why this can feel so confusing, is they have several different ways that they can check for internal consistency. So I split them into two internal consistencies because the first bullet point here is like they're opposites of each other, as well as the second one. Okay, so what I mean by that is in this first bullet point, they can check for internal consistency by splitting in half. They'll just take your assessment, they'll take the assessment and they split it in half. A common way they'll do this is based off of odd and even questions, right? So they'll split it in half where all the even questions are on one half and all the odd questions on the other half. And remember, they're just checking, do all the items, are they all consistently testing with each other, right? Are they all hanging together on that same content? Now see this little error, and then I have an undo sign right here. This is so funny to me. Then they like get done doing that and they're like, huh, if we had never split this test in half, how reliable, because remember they're looking for internal consistency, how reliable would the test have been, this assessment, excuse me, or test have been if we had never split it in half? So then they literally undo what they just did. That's how I think of it. They then use what's called the Spearman-Brown prophecy formula. Do you hear these wild names? I think that's why this part's harder. Spearman-Brown prophecy formula. And they do that to literally go backwards to see how reliable would this test have been if we had never split it in half. One way I kind of remember that helped me at first, I struggled to remember this long name, is you kind of think of prophecy like predicting the future, and this is like predicting the past. It's like it's going backwards. How can I predict how reliable would this test have been if I had never split it in half? So that's the first internal consistency right here. Like in my mind, that's how I filed it away. It's the split half, right? And then you're going to undo it and go backwards with this Spearman-Brown prophecy formula. Then the next way I remembered internal consistency was with the Cooter-Richardson. They can do what's called the Cooter-Richardson. And if you see that on the test, okay, what you're looking for is questions that are dichotomous. If they're like, let's imagine in the question something about checking for internal consistency or reliability, and they're going to use the Cooter Richardson. And like, when would this be used? Well, this is really easy, I promise, for dichotomous items on a test when it's yes or no, true or false. And the way I remember that is, do you see how there are two names here, like hooked together, Cooter Richardson? That's how I remembered that. So it's like Cooter in one hand, Richardson in the other hand. I'm like, oh, this is just like what it looks for. It looks for two like binary things, like, or dichotomous things, yes or no, true or false. It's all about Cooter Richardson, right? The opposite of that, the way, or I think of it as the opposite, and that's how I got it learned for myself for the test, was the Chromebox Alpha. So that does not test for dichotomous items. That is looking at things like a Likert scale, right? And a Likert is where it's like strongly agree, kind of agree, don't agree at all, right? Like that's a Likert. It's used for essays and it's used for scaled. So those are the different types of reliability. And there's one more not on here. I just remember these by C eye to eye. There's something called the inter-rater reliability, but it's really, I think that's the easiest of all. Like you cannot miss it in the questions. I feel like it's always very clear, usually when it's inter-rater. That's I-N-T-E-R, inter-rater, and then R-A-T-E-R, inter-rater. So, and that is just when you have something like the Olympics, right? The Olympics are coming up, and you have different raters, inter-raters. It just means like different graders, different raters rating the performance or the test or the essay, whatever they're rating, right? You have more than one person. It's actually supposed to help make it more fair, right? because think about it, a figure skater's performance can be a little subjective, an essay can be a little subjective, right? So that those are the types of reliability. And then the other one I see a lot that gets confuzzled, but it does not have to be, it would be the types of validity. And I remember this by fried crispy peas, Chuck E. Cheese, and you just go by the purple letter at the beginning. And then that got too long for me as I got better at remembering. And then I just got it down to FCPCC. So, but that helped me remember the different types of validity, because definitely all of these can show up on the exam. These are like very fair game right here. So to me, face is just the easiest, right? It's just what it looks like it is. You see a math book, you see a math cover, you think it's a math book, right? Um, then content is just based on the content. It's everything that I studied for these 8 domains on the NCE, was all of that content there, right? Or let's say I take a psychology class one semester. You're like, what, right? Maybe several, but let's say for this one semester, I take one, right? And at the end of that semester, I'm expecting the professor, like when I get to that final exam, I'm expecting content validity, like all the domains we cover to be on that final exam, right? Then you have predictive. This is, I think, one of the easiest to recognize too in questions. It's just, it predicts, like, for example, um, the GRE score, right? They think, oh, this is going to predict possibly what your grades might be in graduate school. Of course, that's being used less and less, but that's just an example for when it used to be used a lot more, right? The ones I think the most confusing definitely would be concurrent and construct. But there's no reason for it to be all concurrent, is that you have 2 tests at the exact same time, and I'll tell you what it means more in a second. 2 tests at the exact same time, and you're going to compare it to a non-test. I'm sorry, someone, let me see here. Someone sent me a chat, but I'm not seeing it. Sorry, y'all. I'll check it out in just a second when I finish this. So I hope it's not, let me see. I hope it's not an emergency. Whatever someone's trying to let me know, the chat kind of finished. Let's see. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, wait, is it an emergency? I hear someone. No, I don't hear
Was it?
someone.
Sorry.
Do what now?
It wasn't an emergency.
Okay. I'm sorry. So whoever that was who sent me the chat vanished somehow while I'm doing this PowerPoint. So feel free to just let me know if there's like something going on I don't know what's going on with like what I'm doing here. Okay, I was going to concurrent. Okay, so what concurrent means is like you have at the same time, you're going to take, that's where I was, sorry, reorienting myself here. So let's say, what I mean by at the same time, compare it to a non-test. Let's say I work with kids a lot. And the more I work with them, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have this great idea that I think would be really good for like a depression assessment that I feel like works really well with this specific group of kids I'm working with, right? But that's new, right? Like they've got to check, does it have validity? Remember, this is all about validity, concurrent validity. So what they're going to do is they're going to give this assessment, my new depression assessment, to this group, to the group that we're going to test it on. And then at the same time, concurrently, it's just like at the same time, we're going to give to them a well-known, like maybe a Beck depression inventory, something really trusted, right? Or let's say with adults, right? Let's say I had this really great idea for a depression assessment. And then to test the validity of the new assessment, I'm sorry, you have to make that clear here. To test the validity of my new assessment, we're going to administer the new assessment that I've come up with at the same time with the BDI, with the Beck Depression Inventory, because the validity of the BDI has already been so well established, right? So that's why it's called concurrent. That really helped me, right? So concurrent, you compare it to an existing test at the same time, right? So you have a new test and you're going to check its validity by comparing it with an existing test whose validity has already been well established, okay? So that's concurrent. The other one that I think could be confuzzling is the construct, but no need for it to be construct. I just like to start with the big picture. The construct validity, the big picture is just, is it testing for a construct? when you're reading the question. And a construct is just like an idea, it's something abstract. The way I remember this is like when we go to the doctor, when we go to the doctor, they're easily able to test like our blood pressure and our oxygen, right? They just put something on us and they test it, our weight, right? But I always start laughing because it's not easy for them. They can't just like hook us up and test for how happy we are, right? Or how depressed am I, right? They can't just hook me up to something and tell me, oh, you're like 80% happy and 20% depressed, right? So that's why it's called construct. It's like something we've constructed. We literally constructed how this looks, how sadness looks, how happiness looks in society. And that's the big picture of what construct validity is. Now, getting into the nitty gritty, then it divides. You can have two different kinds of construct on the exam, on the NCE, okay? You can have the convergent. That's when Dr. Pam brings her hands together, the convergent. That's when you are looking for related things. They're related. You have a high correlation between like what you're testing for and like the actual things it's testing for. Like I want to test for anxiety. We check for convergent validity. Yes, it's actually testing for, someone's coming in. Well, wait, sorry, someone's coming in. We're actually testing for anxiety, right? Divergence, the opposite. We're hoping that with this assessment, if I want to test for anxiety, that it is not testing for my math ability, right? Which I would not want tested right now. So that is all that's going on with the types of validity. And these can be, I've noticed, super confusing, but they don't have to be. And just to like boil that down shorter. So if you see something that says compared to an existing test, right? You have a new test compared to an existing test, that's concurrent. If you have something that says something along the lines of it's going to correlate with similar traits, then that's going to be convergent from the construct, okay? Then if you have does not correlate with unrelated traits, that would be divergent. Okay. The last thought, then I'm going to try to work a few questions here. My last thought about this, for a while when I was getting ready for the exam, I had like all these really down, but something where I would keep missing questions, something that kept throwing me for a loop was this down here, this criterion validity in this little purple box down here. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And then you know what it was? Criterion validity can refer to either predictive or concurrent, right? So I've just seen several questions now where it will ask about criterion validity, and it can refer to either the predictive or the concurrent. And the reason that is, right, I was like, what in the world? The reason that's true is both predictive and concurrent, they have a criteria. They have a criteria out that's external to the test. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, so if it's predictive, remember how I said the GRE, this is just an example, the GRE, like what you make on that, they think will help predict what GPA you'll have in grad school, right? So here there's a criteria outside of you and the exam, something in the future. Here is a future criteria, your GPA. Concurrent means at the same time. It's a criteria at the same time. Remember how I said concurrent means you have a new assessment and you want to see, does it have validity? Remember? And then I said you're going to compare it concurrently at the same time with one that you already knows it has validity. And that would be like the Beck's depression inventory, right? But Beck's depression inventory here, that's the criteria that's external to you and your assessment. It's just at the same time. So criterion validity, I'm going to say it one more time because this actually took me a while to get this one. Criterion validity is like the umbrella over predictive and concurrent. It can be talking about either of those. If it's talking about future criteria, it's predictive. If it's talking about a right now, like a current, concurrent. It right now, criteria outside of you in the exam, like remember the BDI compared to the assessment you're trying to test, then it's going to be concurrent. So that's something to watch out for because I used to get those wrong all the time before I got that figured out. All right, y'all, let's see. When I get done at the end, like I said, I'll put this as long as it lets me, okay, I'll put this in the chat once I find the chat again at the end. Okay, let's see here. That was a lot of material. Okay, are y'all still with me? Let's see here. Looking for some faces to see if everybody's still there. Because good, thank you for the thumbs up. Yeah, I was moving.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was trying to get it done. And look, yeah, it took me 45 minutes. I was trying to get this all done in time. All
No,
right.
you did good though, Sarah. You explained it
You
so well.
did great.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I swear, it's like, wow, it's really going fast. Okay.
No, it was good.
Thank you. All right. So, and I will also, like I said, put these questions in the chat when I get done. Like the questions we're gonna do. It might take me a minute, so, but I should have done it beforehand. Uh, Such is life. C'est la vie. Okay. All right. Can everybody see the questions? This, you know what? I don't hear y'all echoing anymore. I'm not sure what was going on. Thankfully, it must have gotten worked out. So feel free to let me know. All right. Yeah, definitely. Don't feel free. Definitely let me know if y'all cannot see these questions. Can everybody see these questions? Cool. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. Okay. So
Can
I
you enlarge it just a little bit?
I can try my best. Let's see here. View. Let's see here. Interesting. Let me try to make it full screen. Okay. Did that help any? Not really. Let me see. Zoom in. All right. Did this help any? No. Okay.
Yeah, because we can see it better.
You can see it better. All right.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. All right. So now, hey, I'm so excited. I don't hear that terrible echoing right now. So, someone I can see, let's see. Well, actually, please correct me if I'm saying this incorrectly. Is it Kyla?
Gila.
Keela? Do you know, I almost said Keela. I almost said Keela because the I would be like a double E. So yeah, thank you. Keela, would you feel comfortable? Would you like to read this question out loud for us maybe? And then this is going back at the beginning, and so I might need to backtrack, right? Because you maybe weren't here at the beginning. I covered this back at the near the beginning about self-efficacy compared to self-esteem. And so were you here when I covered that?
No, but I can read it.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
A client reports feeling worthless overall, but expresses strong confidence in their ability to manage panic symptoms using coping skills learned in therapy. This best reflects A, high self-esteem and high self-efficacy. B, low self-esteem and low self-efficacy. C, low self-esteem and high self-efficacy. D, high self-esteem and external locus of control.
Thank you. Yeah. So it was someone, Kyla, I mean, Keela, please forgive me. Once I got it in my mind one way, right? It's like how it's tattooed now. Keela, do you feel like you know this question, or do you feel like this sounds like something you've not heard about yet?
Um, I would have to work through it.
You're totally fine. I would have too, trust me, before studying for this test. Um, I tell you what, is there someone here who was here when I covered this who feels like you know what the answer would be and you can walk us through it? Silence.
I don't know, but self-esteem is how you feel about yourself.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Self-efficacy is saying to yourself that I know I can do something if I put my mind to it and try.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't see who that was, but thank you. Who was this?
Gnarling.
No, okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. That's a great explanation. So Keela, which one would you get rid of first? You want to go for it? Which one would you eliminate first?
I would eliminate D.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to put a big X to say I love X's. And then which one would you eliminate next after that?
Um, I'll probably eliminate A.
Absolutely. Nice job. So good. We've got 2 down. And then remember, Dr. Pem says once you've eliminated 2, and if you need to, she's like, go back to the question, right? That is a reading test.
I would pick a client reports feeling worthless overall, but expresses strong confidence in their ability to manage panic symptoms using coping skills learned in therapy. This best reflects. I'm going to go with C.
Absolutely. Nice job.
Very good. Very good. I was going to say.
Very good. Yeah. I love it. No, Keela, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Is that okay? But it's because I'm trying to like help demonstrate to people how to work these questions. So how would you prove to me, right? Like what evidence could you use from the question to prove to me why C is the right answer?
They reported feeling worthless overall. That would be their low self-esteem, but expresses strong confidence in their ability to manage, which lets me know she has high self-efficacy.
Yes, perfect. Yes. And guys, that is like a huge tip as well. I've noticed the people who can really go past the exam is they can really tell me why they've eliminated options, and then they can prove to me. I call it proving, right? Like, and Dr. Pam I think does too sometimes, right? She's like, can you prove to me, like from the question, right? Go back to the question, prove to me why the answer you chose is the answer. Otherwise, sometimes we kind of play like exam roulette. We can kind of sometimes almost outsmart like practice questions where we really don't know it, but we get like lucky, right? All right, nice job. And then let me see, I'm going to move on down here. So then another thing we talked about near the beginning was how people get Margaret Mailer's object constancy confused with Piaget's object permanence. So does someone feel like they could try number 3? Is there someone here who feels good about this one? Okay. Maybe not. It might go to be a solo performance.
I'll read it. I'll take it.
Keela, we have a duet. We have 2 people willing to play here. Okay.
Toddler understands that a caregiver continues to exist when out of sight, but becomes emotionally dysregulated when the caregiver sets limits. This pattern most clearly reflects intact A. Object constancy with impaired attachment. B. Object permanence with limited object constancy. C. Secure attachment. D. Ego strength. So I'm going to go back to the question.
Yeah.
Look at it. A toddler understands that a caregiver continues to exist when out of sight, but becomes emotionally dysregulated when the caregiver sets limits. So I'm going to eliminate D, ego strength. I understand that secure attachment is when the caregiver leaves and comes back. The baby is, the child is glad to see them, even though they may cry when they're no longer there, but they come back and they're happy again. So we're going to eliminate C because this is not talking about the same thing.
Nice job, Keela. Yeah.
And so we're going to go with A and B. So object constancy with impaired attachment. Dysregulated is talking about, how do I explain it? Dys is like a malfunction in regulation, so to speak. Right. So object constancy with impaired attachment. And then we have B, object permanence with limited object constancy. So the answer would be, I'm going to go with A.
tequila. Wait a minute. Wait, you were doing great. You were doing great. Wait, I want to go
Hold
back to
on,
the
wait.
question.
Let
Yeah,
me. Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna go with B because I remember that limited object constancy. So that's a limited. So looking at where it says the caregiver continue to exist when out of sight, but becomes emotionally dysregulated when the caregiver sets limits. So there was a limit that was set there, so it's going to be B.
This was a little bit more confuzzling. I definitely think so. But yes, good going back there. So to prove it even more, right? Because I'm telling you, truly, guys, the people passing, they get to the point with me, they can really go back into that question and really figure out, like when they do miss it, they can really go back in and figure out exactly why. So we have like we literally have Piaget and we have Mailer in one question here, no joke. And the first part, okay, so a
The
toddler
dysregulated.
yeah,
It was
it's a lot.
tricky.
It's a lot. So
It's tricky.
a toddler understands that a caregiver continues to exist when out of sight, right there. So something, the baby's realizing, or this toddler, that something continues to exist when out of sight. That is literally the definition of object permanence.
What's your
So
permanence? Yes.
that right there would already let me know, even if let's say I'm on the exam and I totally blank out on mailer, okay? But that alone would let me know this has to be B, right? Because I have object permanence. So it cannot be
Right.
A because A doesn't
Right.
mention object permanence.
It's
And I like to,
probably. Mhm.
yes, Bam, I like to point that out to students because, you know, the best of us, no matter how much you've studied, okay, there are times you definitely blank out on the exam. And so if you can just, right, that's one of the reasons you want to always use the same process, eliminating, because you would know, okay, I'm blanking out on what this is. I'm blanking out on mailer, but I know what I do know is that object permanence is being described here. So even let's say you got stuck and you're like, I can't remember, like, is this A or B? Okay, wait, object permanence. I know it is B, even though I don't remember what limited object is. Step back here. I know it has to be object permanence. And that is a lifesaver. Like when you're on the exam, no matter how much you studied, sometimes you'll just blank out on something. And one of the things that really helped me um, with Dr. Pam's methodology, right, is her when she says eliminate, keep eliminating. Like sometimes I couldn't remember exactly what or why, but I would say I know it cannot be that. Like I may not know why totally this is the answer, but I know it cannot be the others, right? So just keep doing that over and over. So there you go, right? So I know, let's say, like I said, you blanked out on mailer, but you would know, I know it has to be B because this is describing object permanence. Then after this, it says, but becomes emotionally dysregulated when the caregiver sets limits. And this is what would be the mailer part, limited object constancy. So this toddler has not developed that object constancy with the caregiver. Which leads us back to, remember guys, earlier I was saying something I've seen that can be confusing is object constancy means, remember, the caregiver has got my back, got my back. But a lot of times we just usually see questions or examples of like when they're gone, right? Or like they've got my back. But I've also seen questions where it's like this one right here, the caregiver will set limits, or the caregiver, the toddler might feel like the caregiver is irritable because they say no. I don't mean angry or abusive, just like plain old no in parenting, right? And if they have a healthy object constancy, they'll still have like a healthy emotional response because they have good object constancy, right? So actually, I love this question. Okay, I love it because this is an example of when the toddler has not developed a healthy object constancy when the caregiver sets limits, that type of question, versus when the caregiver is like actually gone. All right. All right, y'all. So I am going to put these in the chat. Fingers crossed. Let's see if it lets me. Okay. And then y'all can have fun. That's a funny word to use with with studying for the NCE, right? Have fun. Y'all can have fun. Let's see. Will the okay, now I can see the chats. Okay. So let's see here. Hi everyone. Will the recording be sent out? I would think so. I'm not the one who manages that aspect of things, but I would imagine it would be sent out. Otherwise, I can't imagine Like, why else would they have us recording this unless if they send it out? But if they don't, always just email that email drpam2020@gmail.com and just ask them, right? Like, how can I obtain this recording? Oh, I'm sorry. Someone, okay, would you zoom in on your screen? I did zoom in. I hope that helped. Okay, y'all. That was a tricky one. Yeah, it was tricky. All right, y'all. Let's see if I can upload this stuff for y'all right quick. Okay. Here's the PowerPoint. Let me know if y'all can see this. We'll start with that one first, because that's a pretty big attachment. All right, so can y'all check that one out, and I'll try to get the questions now. Okay, here are the questions and answers. All right, so let me know. Who can is it working for everybody? First I sent the PowerPoint and now the questions. And the questions had the answers and the rationale. So all right. Does someone maybe want to let me know if that's working? Thank you. Kenyatta says yes. Carly says yes. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. And then in that PowerPoint, there are discount codes. I know, like, for example, Dr. Pam's boot camps are awesome. I did that before I took my test and it really helped me. You know what? It really helped because I'd really been studying. And so what it did, and I've had it help several students now. You know what it does? And so the discount codes, I just put those in there too. When you do those boot camps, what really helps is like if you've really been studying like intensely, and then like you're basically ready for the exam, right? But then it's like you go and she has like this really intense just like overview of everything, just like the whole everything you might see, right? And so I found it really helpful because it's like I got this one last overview, right, of the big picture of like everything. Now I will say if I had not really been studying and preparing, and my students too, right, I'm not sure, like it would have been good exposure, right? But I don't think it would have like the same pack, the same punch as like if you've really been studying and then you go and it's like you hear it one more time. Tiffany says, how did you study? How did I study? Exactly like in the PowerPoint. Like if you look in that PowerPoint, I have like patterns I've been noticing of people who pass because I've been a coach since I think around August after I passed the CPCE and the NCE in July of last year. And so I think I started coaching in maybe August. And so I've just been noticing like from myself. And then I studied with another lady, Aisha, who I met through one of the cohorts. We had started out in one of the cohorts they offer here. And so yeah, we did a cohort, and then I had a gap between my cohort and my exam. And so Dr. Pam really suggests if you have a gap to pair up with a coach. And so that's what I did until I had my exam. But yeah, I did everything that's at the top of that PowerPoint, right? I did a cohort, I did individual coaching, I had a study partner. We would meet with each other and we would teach each other, like we would verbalize it to each other. So that really helps if you have somebody you can talk it to over and over and have to explain it. And then I did definitely those 3 separate hours a day, like religiously. I had Dr. Pam on all the time. That's why earlier I was laughing because I listened to Dr. Pam literally in the shower. Everyone around me knows Dr. Pam now. Everyone knows Dr. Pam. I had her on everywhere, like all the time when I wasn't working and stuff. Let me see. One thing I will mention here. Oh, every time I got to a word or a concept I didn't know, I paused and I looked it up. Like at the time, it felt so annoying. It felt so slow, but it really paid off because those words really do show up on the exam. So whenever you get to a word or concept you don't know, just pause and look it up. Like it will pay off. I know it feels slow at the time, but it does pay off. And yeah, if you let me look in the chat. If you look at those patterns, I'm sorry, whoever asked me that question back, oh, Tiffany, I think back in the PowerPoint up near the top, I have patterns of passers, things I've been noticing with people who pass. And that's all this, that's what I was doing, everything I have in there. Oh, one last thing I'll mention, because I've noticed this with myself though, and now some other students I've had. Sorry, my laptop's about to die. If you're more of a kinesthetic learner, and I am, sometimes you do have to combine movement. I've noticed some type of movement, especially once you start like burning out, especially once I start like hitting a burning out phase. So I found like listening to Dr. Pam while I exercised and worked out did really well for me because I'm kinesthetic. So I do really well with movement. So, and now I've had some students like that now who are more kinesthetic. So it's like they needed to somehow combine movement while listening to Dr. Pam. But if you're not kinesthetic, then that may not be an issue. But like for me, it was so severe. A few of the topics, literally, I couldn't even learn them until I did that. It's like my memory would not remember them until I combined it with movement. Could you send the link? All right, y'all. So getting ready to close out here. Let's see. Could you send the links again, please? Yes. Do you think you can overstudy my test? And I'm feeling a little.
You can scroll up if you want to get those links in the
Yeah,
chat. Just scroll up or
I would
down.
think so too. Yeah, thanks for saying that. Yeah, I think you can scroll back up.
So it's not working. I have to transfer to my iPad and I don't see the previous messages that we had
Oh,
before. Yeah.
I
But
see.
thank you though.
Yes. You know what? When I close out, and if it's okay with you, so everybody can leave and like resume their life, when as everyone's leaving, is that okay with you? I'll then put it in the chat so everybody can feel free to leave. Let me just double check
Yes,
this.
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for understanding. Do you, because there's one more question here. Do you think you can overstudy? My test is a week away. And I feel like you will definitely, if you have been studying correctly, I promise you, you will feel so burnt out. I definitely did. And everybody I know who's really studying, they feel burnt out about a week before the test. What would you suggest at this point? Wow, I'm scared to suggest anything. People are so different. I know Dr. Pam says, like, I always go back to Dr. Pam because anything Dr. Pam said, I did it and it worked. And so I just like stick with Dr. Pam's method. But Dr. Pam believes in just, sticking with those 3 hours a day right up until you take the test. So I would say stick with it. But like I said, I found some creative ways to help me feel not totally burnt out. So like I said, I would exercise while I listened to Dr. Pam. And that really helped me a lot. So I think it also helped with the burnt out feeling because I was like letting out part of that burnt out, like stressed feeling exercising. And it can be like something gentle if you like walking or like yoga or whatever, or stretching, or it could be something intense, whatever works for you. Can you help? Oh, I wish I could, Diana. So this speaks a lot for Dr. Pam's integrity for real, because she only lets people coach for exams that they have passed. So where I'm at, the state I'm in, I had to take the CPCE and the NCE, but I have not yet had to take the NCMHCE. So I can't coach for that because I've never taken it. But I think I know two other super awesome coaches. I think, oh my goodness, I can't. One has a PhD. I'm sorry, she's newer, and I'm blanking on her name. Dr. Someone. I think she coaches for the NCMHCE. Does someone here know her name? Do y'all? Has anyone else heard her yet? Because I blanked out. I'm so sorry. Yeah, yeah, and I love how they do that, right? Like that you can't coach for an exam that you've not personally passed. Like I think this speaks volumes about how Dr. Pam runs things. Think, Darlene. Okay, thank you. Yeah, check. And I think maybe Coach Jeremy too. I think there are maybe two coaches at least who coach for that. Coach Jeremy, he's awesome. He actually was one of my coaches, and he was outstanding. So, Coach Jeremy
Thank you,
and this
guys. Thank you
Dr.
for the
Darlene.
information on Barton Bot as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay. All right, y'all. I think that's it. All
Yeah.
right. Oh, when you started the theories, did you only study one at a time? Dr. Barton? Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm not familiar with this.
Yes.
Yes. With the theorists, guys, again, this is really individual. Some people do well studying 2 or 3 theorists at the time, or like a lot. Like a part of this is very individual based. Some people really, really need, and Dr. Pam will say this. She's like, take one. I don't know if you've heard this recording where she says this, but she's like, take like one person and like really go over them and really know them before you move on. And I think that's a good idea because I have been meeting that a lot with clients who have been studying, even those who have been studying a lot. And it's like sometimes they have some of the vocabulary like mixed up between theorists. You do not want that to happen. Let me tell you, you do not want that to happen. So I would suggest one, go back. We know how we learn. Okay, so people learn very differently. Like I just said, for me, I've literally had to add movement sometimes for anything to even stick. On the other hand, if Dr. Pam says that, that's what I did as well. I would start with one and I really knew them, and then I would move on. Then I would go back and review. Then I would move on. Here's another thing with the helping relationships are so crucial to passing the NCE. I mean, that is the meat and potatoes of that test. I would always try to be working some questions like basically every day from helping relationships. Otherwise, you can lose the content, right? By the time you go and do social and cultural diversity and human growth and development and ethics, right? Like you can begin to lose it. So I would suggest like on Brainscape, like go back on Brainscape. I don't know if y'all have heard of Brainscape, hopefully so, right? I would go in on Brainscape and like every day work some questions from the counseling and helping relationships. That's the section you have to really, really nail. All right, y'all. I think that's about it. Yes. Yes, yeah, you could. I'm going to become a pick me person with this. Yeah, you can ask for me. How did you organize your studying with the different core content areas? So I did basically, so I was in a 15-week cohort or thereabout. So I liked it because it then gave me about 1 to 2 weeks per content area. Like somebody asked, how did you organize your studying? So yeah, because I was in one of those cohorts with about 15-ish or so weeks plus or minus, it gave me about 1 to 2 weeks to just really focus per domain on the NCE. And then, like I said, what I would do then is I would study the new content and then I would loop back and I would keep reviewing old content. And one of the ways I started really doing that as I got better and better closer to the test, I would work questions, right? So like on Brainscape, because you know it has like the different sections labeled. I would go back and I would review my old sections. And like I said, I did something from counseling and helping relationships literally every day. I felt like I was dying at the time. It's so funny. I'm coaching it now, but I want to see y'all like now past you because at the time I was like, I never want to remember all this stuff ever again. But yeah, that's how important counseling and helping relationships is. Like every day I would work something from that section. And it will pay off, I promise. When you get on that test, literally, I think 61 of my questions literally were from counseling and helping relationships. And the way I think about that is think about it. If you only need like a 91 to pass or a 93 to pass, I mean, and like 60 questions from counseling and helping relationships, if you can nail that section, do you hear it? You've already passed a lot of what you need to actually pass the exam. All right, guys, that's it for now. Thank you for coming. Thank
Sarah,
you.
one question. I was trying to get back on the messenger because you know they Dr. Pam posts a lot of things on messenger, and somehow I got kicked off. I was trying to put academic coaches and try to like click on the group. How do I get back in on the group?
That is a great question, right? Do you mean, I have to tell you I'm a little lost. Do you mean here or like on Facebook or where?
Facebook messengers, because she's I should get all the test like questions. I'm not in the group no more. I guess because I stopped studying for a while, so I'm trying to jump back into it.
Good for you. Definitely try to jump back in. I just had a client recently passed, and she came back into the test 20 years later. Like, so you can do it. Yeah. Her podcast is up. Like if you are subscribed to the channel, her Past Your Podcast with Me is up, and it's so inspiring because literally 20 years later. But yeah, back to your question. You know what? That is a question for the admin for sure. If you just, I know I keep saying it, but it's because they're really good about getting back.
I'm gonna put my name in on a Facebook.
drpam2020@gmail.com.
Yeah,
just
I have
email them. Have you already tried that?
No, I'm gonna try that. But I got her book and everything anyway.
Yeah, but if you ever have any questions about anything, email them and they'll be so happy to help you. They're super sweet people.
Yeah, and they're kind of quick with getting back to you.
Yes, they are. They're super sweet and super efficient and good combination. Okay. All right, y'all. Thanks for coming. I had fun with y'all. Oh, and y'all can all leave. I'm sorry. I'm still here. Is it Shawana? Jasmine. Yes. Yes. All right. I'm going to upload stuff for you again.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Let me know if this works for you once I put it in.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Take care.
Good night.
Good night. All right. Let's see here. All right. Here's the PowerPoint, Jasmine. And let's see.
Okay. I see.
And now I'm going to do the questions. Let's see here. And where is it? Let's see. Oh,
Sarah, I have a quick question.
Absolutely.
So my test is about a month out, and I was trying to book with you, because Anae referred me to you.
Oh yes, Anae. Yep. Yes.
Anae referred me to you or whatever, and so I was trying to see, like, when we go to book, do we send the email out first, or does the like when you go book your session, like you get to like go ahead and pick who you want? Like, what's the process with that?
That is a great question. I'm trying to remember.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and leave. Thank you.
Oh yes, you're all free to leave. Yeah. I'm trying to remember back to when I did my individual coaching last year. You know what? Wait, I'm sorry. Who was just asking me that question?
It's Jasmine.
Jasmine. Okay, sorry. I'm like, wait a minute. Where was this person? I know, like, you can email them and they should help you. Yes, and I'll also put my email in the chat.
Okay, because me and Anae studied all the way up until she took the test, and so she did recommend you when she passed, and so I was like, yeah, because it's going to be my third time taking it. I failed by 1 point last April.
Oh man, I hate that for you. I feel like that is almost worse, right? Like, just like you're like, oh man, because then you're like always thinking, if I had just answered like that one question, like I knew it, right? Like
exactly. Yeah. Or what could that one question have been?
I know, it's like torture. I hate that happening to you. So I just put my email in the chat. You can always feel free to reach out there too.
Okay,
and I can help you get scheduled as well. Yeah.
Sounds good. I appreciate you so much.
You too, Jasmine. Yeah, Anae's a sweetheart. She works so hard, and I think it was her third time. So you can do it.
Yes, we both was in the same boat. Yeah.
You can do it. You can do it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You have a good night.
Thank you, Jasmine. Good night.
Bye.
Yes, I see Judith. Yeah, you can do it. I think she left. Oh, wait, there she is. Yeah. No, you can absolutely do it. If you just take, I get people all the time where that happen. And one of the secrets is in the PowerPoint, there's tips I have, like, of patterns from people who have passed. Just like really lean into that. And those counseling and helping relationships, like if you can just nail that section, that's usually all that was needed, just to push someone over the score they needed. I don't know if that helped answer the question, but that's part of what Anae did. Like she just really went back. She was doing all those things I have in the PowerPoint, and then she just really, really, really went back into counseling and helping relationships and just worked and worked and worked there, like over and over. Hopefully that helped. All right, y'all.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to know, how long are these sessions, and how many times per week?
You mean the individual ones?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a great question. That can vary. You can just book one, you can book two, you can book 3 or 4, right? It's up to the person, like how much help they feel like they need, or just guidance or support, or like working, right? So like, normally we work a lot of questions. We like look at a practice exam score. We look for like your weak areas, like, oh, this is where you have a weak area. Let's, like, if we push you up here, it'll give you enough to pass here. So it can vary. Some people just need like 2 sessions, usually at least about 2. Some people need literally like 12. That's rare. Okay, that's rare. As long as they're really working, like those tips I gave, a lot of it is like, you can do it. And then I just come in and I help a lot too. Like, people have really been studying. Sometimes they're just really get a lot of anxiety and they just totally blank out on how to do the test. And so I really help them, like I said earlier, prepare the way you're going to perform, right? So, I help them do those practice exams. I'm like, okay, now every time you do it, take it just like you're on your real exam. do the breathing, do Dr. Pam's process every time, right? So it can look different ways for different people. But yeah, it's just it can be usually weekly. And then, like I said, it varies from person to person, like what's needed. But you can always try someone out and see if it helps. Some people do that, right? They just kind of try a session and they see, does it really help?
Okay. Okay, yeah, because I think I'm gonna get the 4 sessions.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I as I said, I probably am like a broken record. As long as someone's just like, okay, once they find out like some of these tips, once they just really lean into them, and me the same way. I had to do the same thing. I wasn't doing all of these before I had a coach, and then they were like, and Dr. like was listening to Dr. Pam. Once I really leaned into them, and I like literally got out of my own way, because right, I kind of I had to get out of my own way on some things. And I just was like, no, I'm just going to do what they're saying, suggesting I need to do, and just give it a try. Oh, it just really like happened after that. Like I was ready, I took it and passed.
Okay. Man, I really appreciate the tips that you gave us. I think those are very helpful, and that's what made me like wanna come and book with you.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to see you, Judith. This sounds funny. We actually normally end up having fun, and we always laugh because we're like, how can you have fun studying for the NCE? But we do actually. We do. And it's so
Yeah.
exciting. If you go on the channel, I think that Sally is behind the subscription, but there are like tons of pastor podcasts lately with my clients, and you get to hear their stories and like how they worked with me and they passed, and we all follow what Dr. Pam said. And so yeah, I'd love to have you.
Um, so these sessions are like what, an hour or something? Or
Yes,
okay.
they're an hour. Each one's an hour.
Okay, and if I get the 4 is that once a week for 4 weeks, or how does that work?
It can be however the client wants.
Oh,
Generally,
okay.
yeah, generally that's how it's done. But like I've had it sometimes if people are under a crunch, they did like 4 in 1 week. Literally, one time a client did 3 to 4 hours back to back.
Oh,
So,
wow.
but generally that's not how it happens. Normally it's
Oh,
about
okay.
once per week.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice to know that it's flexible and
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
All right. It was nice meeting you all. All
Yeah,
right.
you too, Sarah. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Take care. Bye for now. Yes, Carly. And the same for you, right? Just my email's in the chat. You can always just email me, or you can email the Dr. Pam 2020. Either of us will get back with you about how to schedule with me, or if you want me, or a different coach, whichever one, right? All
Okay,
right, y'all.
thank
Good
you.
night. Bye for now.